Creatine is considered a non-protein amino acid compound because it contains nitrogen, but is not technically a protein. Creatine is synthesized naturally in the liver, kidneys, and pancreas from a variety of amino acids, and approximately 95% is stored in skeletal muscle, with small amounts also being found in the brain and testes. 2/3 of the creatine found in skeletal muscle is stored as phosphocreatine, and the remaining amount is stored as free creatine. The average pool of stored creatine in skeletal muscle is about 120 grams for an individual weighing 70 kilograms, and the average human has the capacity to store up to 160 grams. About 1 to 2% of the body's intramuscular creatine pool is used per day, and creatine stores can be replenished by consuming creatine in your diet or by supplementation. About half of the daily need for creatine is obtained from the diet, and the remainder is synthesized primarily in the liver and kidneys. Dietary sources of creatine include fish and red meat. However, large amounts of red meat and fish are needed to obtain gram quantities of creatine. For example, 1 pound of uncooked beef or salmon contains 1 to 2 grams of creatine. Supplementation, on the other hand, provides an efficient and cost-effective method for increasing the dietary availability of creatine without excessive fat and protein intake. During the transition from rest to exercise, phosphocreatine acts as an immediate energy reservoir, rapidly providing phosphate to rephosphorylate ADP to ATP. This provides a quick supply of energy for muscle activation, sustaining high-intensity activity for the first 6 to 8 seconds before anaerobic glycolysis becomes the primary energy source. In other words, creatine helps maintain ATP availability, especially during high-intensity activities. Temporary energy buffering is also associated with the activation of mitochondrial respiration, which forms a creatine-phosphocreatine shuttle called the spatial energy buffer. This shuttle system essentially moves ATP from where it is made in the mitochondria to where it is needed, like sites of muscle activation. Additionally, during high-intensity exercise, creatine has been shown to exert other physiological effects, including upregulating the expression of various genes. Stated differently, this means that creatine can alter the activity of specific genes and their signaling pathways, leading to positive physiological changes. Some of these effects may be related to cellular responses to inflammation. For example, the coupling of creatine and ATP reduces the formation of reactive oxygen species and acts as an antioxidant. Connecting ATP from where it is produced to where it is needed makes creatine an important regulator of metabolism and may help explain the ergogenic and health benefits associated with this compound. Some of these cellular effects may be responsible for studies demonstrating the beneficial effects of creatine supplementation in various neurological diseases, such as Parkinson's, muscular dystrophy, Huntington's, and Alzheimer's. The significance of phosphocreatine as a primary energy source during exercise varies depending on the duration, intensity, and frequency. For instance, if high-intensity exercise is maintained for prolonged periods, phosphocreatine levels will deplete, lactate production will increase, and muscle fatigue will ensue, ultimately impairing the ability to sustain intense exercise. From a sports performance perspective, increased phosphocreatine concentrations provide a greater energy reserve for high-intensity efforts, supporting enhanced performance in sports that involve short-duration, intermittent activities with a predominantly anaerobic component. This demonstrates that creatine supplementation can improve performance in exercises that require rapid energy release and recovery, particularly high-intensity sports. Creatine has become one of the most scientifically validated and extensively studied ergogenic aids, theoretically showing that supplementation during training may lead to an enhanced quality and volume of work performed. In addition to its sport and muscle-enhancing effects, creatine may also play a role in supporting other health benefits, such as increased brain creatine content to support cognitive function as one ages, improved glucose management, lower cholesterol and triglyceride levels, reduce fat accumulation in the liver, supporting heart metabolism, slowing tumor growth in some cancers, offer neuroprotective benefits, reduce the severity of brain ischemia, enhance recovery from exercise, reduce injury risk, minimize bone loss with age, enhance tolerance to exercise in heat, improve functional capacity in those with fibromyalgia and osteoarthritis, improve rehabilitation outcomes and reduce immobilization atrophy, provide anti-inflammatory and immunomodulating effects, and is an important source of energy for immune cells and may have anti-cancer properties, and may also play a role in supporting mental health, fertility and reproductive health, and skin health. In 2017, the International Society of Sports Nutrition released a position stand on the safety and efficacy of creatine supplementation in exercise, sport, and medicine. Therefore, it is the position of the ISSN that creatine monohydrate is the most effective ergogenic nutritional supplement currently available to athletes with the intent of increasing high-intensity exercise capacity and lean body mass during training. Creatine monohydrate supplementation is not only safe, but has been reported to have a number of therapeutic benefits in healthy and diseased populations, ranging from infants to the elderly. There is no compelling scientific evidence that the short or long-term use of creatine monohydrate, up to 30 grams per day for 5 years, has any detrimental effects on otherwise healthy individuals or among clinical populations who may benefit from creatine supplementation. If proper precautions and supervision are provided, creatine monohydrate supplementation in children and adolescent athletes is acceptable and may provide a nutritional alternative with a favorable safety profile to potentially dangerous anabolic androgenic drugs. However, creatine supplementation should only be considered for use by younger athletes who A, are involved in serious competitive supervised training, B, are consuming a well-balanced and performance-enhancing diet, C, are knowledgeable about appropriate use of creatine, and D, do not exceed recommended dosages. Label advisories on creatine products that caution against usage by those under 18 years old, while perhaps intended to insulate their manufacturers from legal liability, are likely unnecessary, given the science supporting creatine safety, including in children and adolescents. The addition of carbohydrate and protein to a creatine supplement appears to increase muscular uptake of creatine, although the effect on performance measures may not be greater than using creatine monohydrate alone. The quickest method of increasing muscle creatine stores may be to consume approximately 0.3 grams per kilogram per day of creatine monohydrate for 5 to 7 days, followed by 3 to 5 grams per day thereafter to maintain elevated stores. Initially ingesting smaller amounts of creatine monohydrate, approximately 3 to 5 grams per day, will increase muscle creatine stores over a 3 to 4 week period. However, the initial performance effects of this method of supplementation are less supported. Clinical populations have been supplemented with high levels of creatine monohydrate, the equivalent of 21 to 56 grams per day for a 70 kilogram individual for years, with no clinically significant or serious adverse events. In summary, creatine is a natural, non-protein amino acid compound vital for rapid energy production during high-intensity exercise. Synthesized in the body and found in foods like red meat and fish, is primarily stored in your muscles as an energy reservoir. Supplementation offers a practical way to boost these stores efficiently. If you are considering creatine supplementation to enhance performance, consult with a healthcare professional or registered dietitian nutritionist to ensure it's appropriate for your health and fitness goals. Stay tuned for my next video.